Almost none of the data that's landing on your desk currently is still right and accurate for you and your company. All of it is pointing you to decisions based on who you used to be versus who you are and who you're becoming. Acting on old data automatically drops you into a lower timeline. Today, I'm showing you how to tell the difference and why you and the people around you, including your team, are reflecting back to you exactly where you're at. Welcome to the Energy Update for leaders and founders. So let's start here with message 1. The only way to pick the right course of action is to be in your own energy first. So many of you have data that's coming at you from all different directions. You've got it coming from your customers, from your boards, from your investors, and from your peers. Everybody has opinions, and all of the data is literally reflective of the past. And this is fine if you're not on a growth trajectory. If you want to repeat the results of the past, then go ahead and look at that data. And even when you look at real-time data, that too is a reflection of the past. For example, Google Analytics can show you customer buying behavior right now in real time, but those strategies that buying behavior is built on was also a reflection of the past. Are those strategies correct going forward, regardless of what the data says? Your job is to discern what's relevant for you now based on who you are becoming. Because 95% of what you're presented with is irrelevant. And it's irrelevant because who you are today is far different to who you were a year ago or even 3 months ago. And this can be very scary for some of the people around you because some of them want things to stay exactly the same. They want them to remain unchanged, even though those things are very obviously incorrect because the ego finds safety in the sameness, even though it's wrong. Now, if you're in a more historic organization where things do remain fairly constant, then you might not want any change. And if that's the case, then yes, go ahead and look at the data you have, and that's going to help you to repeat the past. However, for those of you that I'm speaking to who are industry experts, you're leaders in your field, you're founders and entrepreneurs, you're on a growth trajectory and you are done with playing small. If most data is irrelevant, if that is true, and the only thing you've got is being in your own energy so that you can use your discernment effectively and chart the course going forward, how does one even be in their own energy? It's always about recognizing a coherent felt state. If you imagine being the version of you who has already achieved everything you want. So you've got all the money, you've got the fun cars, you've got the houses, you've got the incredible family, you're having loads of vacation time, and all your ideas are coming to fruition. How does that version of you feel? You likely feel calm and at peace, and you probably feel in flow and maybe have a little bit of excitable, anticipatory type of energy. You feel very content and your life is very good. And when you're able to feel this now, that's when you know you are in a coherent state and you're lining up with what it is you actually want to call in. This is a signal that you are being a sovereign being. In fact, I have a free 20-minute class called The Knowing on this exact coherent state. If you want to get that, the link is in the description below. Now, when you tap into this feeling, you are connected to your higher self. This is what it feels like to be clean and clear and to see things for what they really are. And so when you're in this state and you're presented with this influx of data, it's very easy to see that data clearly. You're able to ask yourself, does this data make sense based on the direction that we're going in? Or is this based on who we were previously, and that is simply not for us anymore? Alternatively, when you're not in this coherent state and you're presented with this influx of data, it can feel erratic and it can feel urgent. And when this happens, it's a sure sign that your ego or someone else's ego is involved in the process. And they're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, so to speak. They are interpreting the data to make it feel like a really big problem, and that is untrue. And when you're not in that coherent state and you're interpreting data in that way, what it does is it keeps you in this lower timeline, which is probably not what you want if you're listening to this. And so your very first step is always to be in your own energy. Because when you do that and data comes in, you recognize that data is inherently meaningless until you decide otherwise. And remember, when you choose growth over data, you're then tapping into your highest timeline, the timeline that you want to be on. And so why is this important? If you implement actions based on that old data to justify your actions, You're saying no to forward progress, and you're literally going back in time. You're going back into the past and making it your present reality. And the people who look like they're having wild success, they're simply using data as a permission slip to take the action they already know they need to take to have what they want. The data itself is not determining the actions that they're taking. And message number 2, if you want A+ results and an A+ team, the work isn't out there somewhere, it's in here. I'll say that again. If you want an A+ team and A+ results, the work isn't out there, it's inward. So we currently have this divergence happening between the old guard type of leaders and the new earth leaders, so to speak. And there are some leaders who do a lot of posturing, a lot of chest beating, and they have quite sneaky trickster energy, and they're really out for themselves. And so the people who say yes to working with that type of person are simply matching their energy. And so this always starts with the person at the top. The person at the top usually has the dominant energetic vibration, and they set the tone throughout the rest of their team. Now, if the person at the top fully trust themselves, if they fully accept themselves and love themselves and they see themselves as being whole and complete, again, they also attract a team and team members who also hold that within themselves as well. This is how you get your A+ team. And so when you're working with people like this, you have what I would call a harmonious work environment. Now, none of this is rocket science. Of course, this makes sense. And so the question is always, what type of leader are you choosing to be? What type of team are you choosing to join? Because it tells you everything you need to know about yourself. When you have a leader who has not done the inner work, they've not done the shadow work, and they're allowing these parts of themselves, these aspects of themselves to run wild and make decisions on their behalf, they are almost always coming from a place of scarcity and lack and fear. And so they make blackful decisions. This is the type of leader who has the company that's always running out of money, who always needs to go ahead and raise. They're the ones that hustle until their legs fall off, and they often screw their customers over. They'll say things like, let's quadruple our prices because we need the cash, rather than looking at their provided value and how to increase that. This is the person who does not trust themselves. And if you want to attract A+ players who care just as much as what you do about solving the problem you're solving and making that forward progress, the work always starts from within. You have to be an A+ player yourself. And A+ players are simply people who have integrated all aspects of themselves, every single aspect, even the aspects that they did not want to look at. They've left no stone unturned. They have therapists, they have coaches, they look after themselves, and they care deeply about the way they feel. The way they feel is non-negotiable. And so before you complain about the peers and the people you have around you, it's best to look within first, because they're simply showing you more of who you are. They're simply there to provide you with a mirror. They are a reflection. And if you don't like what you see, you don't try and change the mirror, you change the person who is in front of that mirror. You've got to go first, always. When you unpack who you really are, you get to be more of who you want to be. And when you do this, you naturally attract aligned opportunities. And I'd really like to make sure that you get the energetic difference between these two types of leaders so you can really feel it in your body and get a sense of what I'm truly talking about, because it's that important. Imagine for a moment what it feels like to be part of a team where the leader leads from a place of making people feel less than, like nothing's ever good enough. They're not enough. They're grouchy and they're chaotic and you never know what you're going to get. That is a team that is going to be full of fear. And fearful people make awful choices, and it keeps them stuck exactly where they are for a really long time. You cannot call in the solution from the same energy as the problem. Alternatively, imagine what it feels like to be on a team where the leader has done the internal work required. They are lit up from within. Just by being around them, you feel energized. They're sparkly. You can almost sense them before they even enter the room. They radiate out this beautiful, incredible energy, and they have so much momentum inside of them. Imagine what it's like to be on this team. You're coming from a place of opportunity. You're coming from a place of abundance. You're wondering, how good can this get? Your team starts thinking, we achieved this and we did that. What's next? We took this action and it turned out far better than what we possibly could have ever expected. What else can we create together? These are two vastly different experiences, and you're always choosing what type of leader you be and what type of team you attract. Everything inside of your reality is of your choosing, so choose well. So that's what's here for you this week. If any of you part of this named something for you that you've been sensing but you've not been able to locate, now you know exactly what to go ahead and do with it. There's a new transmission every Thursday. Subscribe if you would like to stay in the room. And grab the free 20-minute experience in the description below if you would like to be on your highest timeline.